Hi, I'm Jeff Seago. I'm the area forester at Luss Hill State Forest. We're here today in beautiful Pisgah, Iowa, right in the smack dab middle of Luss Hill State Forest to talk about prescribed fire, fuel loads, mitigation techniques, how to create fire lines. We're going to throw in some fire weather for you and hopefully help you prepare for a successful burning operation.
Hi, I'm Lindsey Barney, District Forester with Iowa DNR, and we are here at Luss Hill State Forest. And today we're going to talk about prescribed fire, how to implement it safely in bur oak woodlands, and how to manipulate your fuel loads in order to do prescribed fire safely. And we will end it with how to check your burn day fire weather conditions to make sure that you have a safe burn day operation.
So this is a fire break we constructed as part of a fuels reduction grant for the unit that we're going to look at. You can see that out here in the Luss Hills, our topography is almost impossibly steep. This was all cut by hand. Standard specifications for a fire break for us or a control line are 20 feet of no woody vegetation. That way we have grass. We'll come back in and we'll use various power tools, grass knives and leaf blowers to blow a line in here on burn day, and then we'll burn off of this. The key to a successful fire break, no matter what, get that vegetation, the woody stuff that's going to catch on fire, get it as far away from your line as you can. All of our burn plans call for mopping up. Our standard mop up is within 20 feet of the line. It has to be cold. Within 60 feet of the line, we want to cool things off. We want to drop any snags that catch on fire. So if we're going to go through the time and effort of constructing a fire break like this one, we're already going to give ourselves 60 feet from the get-go wherever we can. That makes burn day a lot easier. Then all you have to do is worry about your proper ignition, getting fire on the ground, making sure your resources are in place, and when you're done, you don't have to come mop up. You just walk the line, check for hazards, make sure everything went like as planned, and you're good to go. This is an extremely expensive endeavor. Most fence lines have not been maintained in the Luss Hills, but this is something that with prescribed fire, continued prescribed fire, you can maintain this condition that we're looking at right here.
Right here in front of you is an example of a common scene you would see in the Luss Hills, where you have eastern red cedar that has encroached naturally out onto prairie ground, or cedar that's filled into woodlands. And one of our management techniques is to get rid of that so we can restore native ecosystems. In this scenario, if you took all these trees down and just left them in a pile, that would be a substantial amount of fuel loading, and it can be a fire risk. So sometimes it makes sense to pile it, which is a traditional method. Sometimes it doesn't make sense to pile it because there could be a resource at stake, like a house on the top of the hill. So here's some good example of what a typical eastern red cedar removal project would look like for Luss Hills prairie restoration. This slope's super steep, and sometimes it's the most cost-effective way to drop cedar. As you can see, there's a lot of height to the cedar trees, so sometimes there's a disadvantage to leaving this way. A lot of managers are worried about invasive shrubs seeding in as birds perch on these tall branches. So this particular unit is going to be cleared of these cedar trees by winching to remove some of this heavy debris and help the prairie heal faster.
So here we have quite a few cedar piles. These were smaller cedar piles. We learned a lot about cedar piling. I think a lot of our brothers and sisters in the natural resource community have known this for a long time, but tight piles with heavy stuff, the stems, the large branches, and the trunks stacked on the outside works a lot better. The piles burn more completely. We did a lot of small piles here. One of our concerns was we didn't want to sterilize large patches of the ground, because the soil does change the chemistry of the soil, and it cooks all the seeds and kills all the baby plants that are in there. Overall, our objective for this site was an experiment. We wanted to see if thinning the cedar trees out slowly over time had a different effect than cutting all of them and removing all of them at the same time. We know that's effective, But our hypothesis for this is that it will heal better and have more species richness faster, opening it up slowly, because it's not going to be quite a shock to the system. It spent 30, 40, 50 years in a shaded state, and all of a sudden, if it were exposed to full sunlight, it could actually stunt those plants. So this is 1 year, approximately exactly 1 year after we started treating. What we did out here was any cedar tree less than 8 inches in diameter, we dropped. We tried to also remove 50% of the canopy cover of cedar, which before this experiment started was about 80% canopy cover with cedar. So we removed down to 50% of that canopy. So theoretically, we have 50% or 40% coverage of eastern red cedar canopy. We limbed them all just so it was easier to walk through here. And then we will eventually fell the rest of these and probably pile them and burn them on these scorched out sites. Once we're satisfied we've gleaned all the information we can, and once the site has actually healed and fully recovered, we'll come for the final step in our restoration process, which is going to be to remove all of them.